you had to cut it off? You broke up with the girl that you were in love with because what? And I'm like, oh God, no. You're quitting. You're quitting the race before you lose because you're so deathly afraid of losing.
And you're almost punishing the girl for being a well-rounded, driven, badass girl.
100%. And that's where I'm like, I will get on this fucking soapbox until I die. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Femme Tell All podcast. My name is Madison Bellissimo.
And I'm Ruth Devereaux.
And we're so happy you're here. And today we are covering Self Sabotage. And I feel like that's a buzzword on the internet.
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Or a hyphened word. Right? 2 words.
Yeah, I think it is because I think a lot of people probably do this purposefully or unbeknownst to them. And I think the unbeknownst is the hardest one. Like if you don't realize what you're doing and you're sacrificing relationships or parts of your life because of it. Whereas the people that are doing it on purpose should be gone from society.
Oh, wow. Talk about a hot take. Let's get into it. Yeah, I mean, this kind of came up. And when I say kind of, this most definitely came up because I'm like, it kind of came up because, no, it came up because I was in a bar last night and I got into a conversation with a man and, it grinded my gears. And I was like, you know what? I think this is more of a like epidemic than we think it is as far as I want to talk about everyone, obviously all genders. We try to be as inclusive as we can, but I feel like I keep noticing it specifically with men of feeling like inadequate. And so due to feeling inadequacy, they self-sabotage to take themselves out of the running or take themselves out of the race before they even lose.
I think it's these self-prophecies, right? So if you want to say like, I'm a piece of shit, and then you want to continually have to act like it, so then you can self-prophesy to yourself like, see, I am. This is why I keep doing this. This is who I am. Like, as opposed to like changing it and bettering yourself. Like it's just you're writing your own future.
Correct. So to give the listeners at home or the watchers context and why you said that is because I was in a 10-minute conversation with this. He's a friend of a friend. So
essentially a stranger.
Essentially a stranger, but I'm going to try and be as kind as I can because he still is friends with one of my friends. So I'm
friend by proxy.
Yeah. I don't want to make it drama filled. But however, I meet this man and within 10 minutes, he has already dropped that he was supposed to go on a date this week, but the girl canceled and he didn't blame her.
Let's count the woe is me moments. So 1.
Yeah, right. He didn't blame her because he was like, well, she's more successful than me.
2.
So I get why she didn't want to go out with me. And I was like, come again? Like, what do you mean? What do you mean by that? Like, just because she has more money or makes more money than you, why does that mean that she wouldn't want to go out with you? Like, what?
The fact that, sorry, I don't mean to keep interrupting, but like the fact that doesn't compute in your brain is like, it's sad that a lot of men do feel that way. Whereas like from the woman's point of view, almost any woman I talk to would never not date a good person because of where they currently are.
Completely. Yeah. And we will get into societal pressures because I know that we are not fully accustomed to them. Yeah. We have our own bag of societal pressures, but I want to get into that because I don't want anyone at home listening, watching, thinking that we are so desensitized to like what happens to men or what is expected of men or what men believe is expected of them, I would say. So anyway, so this guy says that he's like, yeah, I get it. Like I'm not as successful as her. And then proceeds to tell me that his last girlfriend, it was the same scenario and that's why they broke up. And he was like, and I accumulated all this credit card debt because of it. And I was like, whoa. Flag on the play. I was like, credit card debt because of a girlfriend too, like a girlfriend, someone you're choosing to be a partner with. And he was like, yeah. I was like, why? And he was like, well, we would try and split meals, and she could afford better meals than I could. So then I would overcompensate and try to take her to a bunch of really nice places. And I really love giving gifts. And so I went into credit card debt to give her these nice dinners and gifts. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Pause. I was like, and again, this is 5 minutes into meeting this man. And then
another note for men here. Most women don't care how much you spend on a gift or an item or whatever you're giving to them. It's the thought that went behind it. It's so even if it was like a card that you wrote, but it went through like your history together or your thoughts of her, or if it was like a toy that you saw that you think of as related to your future, but it's like 50 cents, like that is going to mean more than you spending however much money on a girl that is just like the regular, oh, I took you to dinner, I bought you this, I bought you that. Thought means way more.
Yeah. And I mean, this is such I could sink my teeth into this subject so deeply, because I agree, because on the opposite side of it too, there's been plenty of times, and I'm sure you can agree to this, where I've been very well treated by a man. Yeah. And even though the restaurant was amazing and the gifts that he was giving were super like expensive or whatever, that also doesn't translate to any interest.
No.
And I think that's where it's scary, because I think that is the misconception. I think men have been taught to be like, oh, if I get her a really expensive dinner, she's going to love me. Yeah. And I'm like, no. So I'm like, at least in my experience, I'm only speaking from my experience. And honestly, my friends, like by proxy, all of my friends and who they've dated and when they're being courted, I'm like, it's not about how much he spent, or like, of course, we talked to our cameraman about this earlier. I'm like, yeah, like, of course, like Will. I'm not trying to like not say your name, but I was just like, I want people to know that you are a man. But like, yeah, I think what's upsetting to me is like, I understand that women have come to me and been like, and he did this and he did this about things that are materialistic, like a gift or a nice dinner or like a nice gesture, like renting out a movie theater for a date or something like that. I'm like, oh my God, that's so extravagant and so sweet and romantic. Yeah. However, that is not what we are talking about, the nitty gritty, as far as like why that makes them that ergo does not make you a good partner.
No.
So we're getting into so many subjects. Yeah. I'm trying to have the through line. But the through line for me was this man that I didn't know was dumping all of this thing on me. And I was like, whoa.
Dumping's such a good word.
Yeah. And he was like, yeah. And I'm a piece of shit, I'm a piece of shit. And I was like, huh? Like, why do you think you're a piece of shit? And he was like, well, I just like, I have no self-confidence. Like I just, I hate myself or something like that. I have low self-worth. And I was like, heard. Like I hear that is and for the people that are just listening, Ruth has a very foul look on her face because she's like, fuck no. But it's true, because I was like, why? Like I hear that we all have self-worth issues, or the majority I would say have self-worth issues. We are trying to build up our confidence. We're trying to love ourselves at the end of the day. And by no means do I fault him for having those initial
feelings or thoughts.
Exactly.
Sure, yeah.
However, the fact that, again, I've met you 10 minutes and you're dumping all this shit on me. And then I was like, you sound wonderful. You seem wonderful. And I brought this up. This man was very tall, had a good head of hair. Like the things that like, I feel like I hear men all the time be like, well, if I was only taller, I would, if I only had better hair. And I'm like, I understand why you guys feel those societal pressures, but that's where I'm like, this is an example of a guy that had height, and was an attractive man, had good head of hair. And because of how much he was spewing this self-hatred, I didn't even want to talk to him. And
she's the nicest person in the world. If I had been there, I don't know what would have happened.
I was just like, oh my God, why are you? I was like, you're convincing me to hate you. Yeah. Like because you hate yourself so much, you're putting it on me. You're going like, I'm a piece of shit. I'm like, no one wants to hear that you're a piece of shit, even if you feel that way. And that's where it feels self-sabotaging, because I'm like, if you would have come into this conversation, again, I'm a friend of the friend. You're not trying to hit on me. Like that was very clear. It was just friendly banter at a bar. But I'm like, already, if anyone was like, oh, I saw that guy that was talking to you, he was really cute, do you think he's single? I'd be like, avoid him.
Run
a plague.
the other way.
I'd be like, girl, you do not want that. And that's where I'm like, I would never want to do that. And I would never say that, I feel like, about most people.
No,
but I was like,
wouldn't.
Just off of the 10 minutes alone of talking to him initially. And it kept getting worse through the night. And I was like, my guy, I got to stop you there. I was like, I can't do this.
No.
And I think all of this to say, because he was putting out that negative energy specifically about himself and not leading with any like general topics or things like if he would have brought if he was seeking information or advice from two women, which it seemed like he was when he brought up this girl canceled on me. The funny part is me and my friend were like, oh shit, so you're not talking to that girl anymore, right? Because she disrespected you. Yeah. Like that was the funny. We weren't even on the girl's side. Yeah. We were like, she canceled day of. That's pretty fucked. Like I get it if you wouldn't want to talk to her. If you don't want to like interact with her anymore, that totally makes sense to me. And he was like, no, but because she makes more money than me, like who am I? I'm just a schmuck. And I was like, what? So let's get into it, Ruth. Now that I've monologued for like 2.
I mean, I think this honestly, there's 2 parts to like my response to that. Like, I think one thing that you said is like a man might feel, oh, I don't make enough, or I'm not this, and I think the one connective tissue here is like I think societally, all genders have these pressures that are put on them, whereas women, it's maybe more focused on youth and beauty and like the way we are perceived visually, whereas men, it might be power and wealth and like or what they can, being a provider or strength or whatever that is. Yeah, we're all like, we all have these pressures and we're all struggling and we're all trying to just like feel good internally. So I think that we can support each other in that. Where it becomes negative and becomes self-sabotage-y is when your only line of communication is, woe is me, negative, negative, negative. Here's the problem. Here's more problems. Here's more problems. No solutions. No ways of like, oh, I feel bad because I'm not making more money and that's important to me. So I'm currently thinking of this and I'm going to do this and I'm going to take this step. Mm-hmm. Or I feel bad because like, I want to have like more like strength. So I'm going to work out and I'm promising myself 3 days a week or whatever that is. Like, tell me your problem. And if you tell me a solution, then I can see you're moving somewhat forward in it. If you're just sitting there talking about everything that's bad and everything that's weighing you down in this world, and I've just met you, like what happens when I know you longer?
Literally, it was like trauma dumping. And the funny part to me was like, if he would have been like, yeah, I was just brutally heartbroken a couple months ago. And I don't trust women anymore. Like if that was the phrase, I'd be like, heard. You want to talk about it? You know, that wouldn't have been like oh God, I can't believe you're throwing this on me. Like just fucking get over it. Like that's not the thing.
It's so different.
It was because it was such a general truth that he had adopted about himself that he had been like, I'm a piece of shit. I'm worthless. I don't make enough money, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, says who? Right. Like who are people telling you this? Because I would recommend cutting those people out of your life if they're that negative to you. Yeah. First off. Second of all, agreed. If there are certain things that you can change, obviously there are so many external factors in making money and things like that. But if you're like, okay, I'm really focusing on trying to make more money and that's important to me. Yeah. When I date a woman, I'd like to make more money than her, which I'm like, wow, bold. Say it, but say it with your chest. If he said that, or if he was like, because his whole thing was, I'm a gift giver, and that's why I went into debt. And I was like, whoa, we don't need to go into thousands of dollars of debt to give some gifts.
Well, you think about the thought process of that. Like, I don't make enough money, but I'm also really bad with money. That is just what you've presented. And this is what you're saying about yourself as a person. And you still haven't done anything to like say like, oh, like this is what I'm doing to like bring this debt down. This is how I'm working towards this. Like, to me, it sounds like a machine gun. He was just like, like this is what's so mad.
Truly. And I think to your point, it was not that he not only didn't have a solution. That was like because I'm like, I get it. Sometimes you need external like therapy.
Yeah,
like
I'm
going to take a wild shot in the dark and think that this man had never been to therapy before.
I hope not. And if you're his therapist, give him his money back. He needs it.
Like, we need something. Maybe we need a new partnership. But yeah, it was just, to your point, like he was just machine gun. It was like such truths to him. Like there was no wiggle room of like, but I'm trying to be better, or even on the flip side, I would have loved if he would have been like, yeah, I don't make as much money as my ex-girlfriend. Like, and I felt inadequate in that way. So I overcompensated. But you know what I did do? I was really there for her emotionally all the time. And like, that is one of my strengths. Like if he would have followed that conversation, I would have been like, great, let's talk about it. Because then I'm leaned in. Now I'm like, wow, tell me more about that. Right. How do you feel like you show up for your partner? And then he's like, well, you know, I like cook breakfast every Sunday. That's something that I do. Like that is something that I like really, really love. And it's like a gift that I give her. It's an act of service. Yeah. Then I'd be like, you're a great boyfriend. Yeah. Why are you hung up on not making as much money? Did she ever say that to you? Yeah. And that's where, it just grinded my gears because I'm like, I've heard this same fucking song and dance. Sorry, guys. I've heard the same song and dance of men being like, well, I don't make enough money. I don't. And it happens with engagement rings, right? How many times have you heard a man be like, well, yeah, I mean, I've been with my girl for like 6 years, but like, I just want to get her the right ring. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm going to take a shot in the dark. There will be maybe 10. I'll give you a healthy 10, which is, I'm feeling generous with the 10. Maybe there's a healthy 10% of women that are like, if I don't have the perfect rock, you don't get it.
They don't marry that 10%.
So. I agree.
Honestly, like just don't.
I don't know anyone in my circle.
Anybody. Yeah.
No, but are there people out there? Absolutely. There's room for that. I'm giving you that. The 90 other percent, I would take a fucking shoestring. I'm serious. Like, or a tattoo or something. Like that's a couple $100 or something like that, or something that you guys have decided on. If a guy gave me a fucking ring pop for my initial, like,
instead
he was like ring pop, I'd be like, oh my God. And then we'd figure it out. Yeah. And then we get like the fucking 50 cent, like little like bowling alley ring. I'll do it. And that's where it really grinds my gears because I feel like I've heard so many men be like, well, I can't. And again, this is where I'm getting back to the societal pressures.
It's this, I will tell you one thing that I think is a beautiful thing in a relationship. It's growing together. So even if you guys start out on different planes, like say she's making more than you or whatever that is, like to build a life together where you dream together and you make those changes and like those strides together is such an incredible experience to have with a person that you love and care about. There is I don't believe there's many women out there that are like, if you're willing to try, that I'm not going to do it. Like, it's like, if you have that drive in you, if you have that push, if you have that want, most women are going to be like, I'm going to fucking help you.
Yeah.
I'm taking your hand.
I'm your champion.
We're running this race together. Like, that's what it's about. You want that partnership. You want that person that's going to help you get to where you want to go. Yeah. Not the person that you don't, as a woman, you don't want a man that's like, I'm so weak. I can only do this and I suck. Blah, blah, blah. That feels very self-sabotaging and weak, and then I can't trust you as a partner.
Yeah. It feels like you're faltering in ways that you're getting in your own way. Like if I had a guy that was like, okay, I want to make this much more money, so I'm working the night shift, right? Which again, you're taking your priorities. You say you want to make more money. But then our relationship slips, and the only reason he's trying to make more money is to take me out to expensive places. Right. I'd be like, I'd rather cuddle with you all night. Yeah. I'd rather you be here with me.
I mean, honestly, even if you went to like the grocery store and got like a couple of like small like items and we did a picnic together, like that took time, that took effort. And now we're going to go, like, there's so much less that you think that you have to do for women than you assume that you need to do.
I know. And that's why I was so angry that this guy was saying all this. I was like, I've heard this before in so many different fonts and different, it's like you doctor it up in different ways. Yeah. And it's like, I feel like
And please don't get us wrong. Like, if you're in a partnership and you're feeling weak or you're struggling, you should come to your partner and talk to them about it. But that's an intimate conversation. That's something that's like, that feels special to somebody saying, like, if you're in a partnership and then they come to you and they're uncovering pieces about themselves, like, that's beautiful. If you're doing this to a person in a bar, like, that's a different level. Like,
then you're really perpetuating the unluckiness, so to speak, right? Of like, I'm not able to get my shit together. So I'm and I know why he was saying it. You know, he was saying it out loud because he's so deathly terrified of someone else saying it to him first. And that's the whole point of self-sabotage. Is like the men that break things up. Do you know how many times I've talked to a man, friend, family, blah, blah, blah. It's happened and they go, well, yeah, I just feel like I wasn't like man enough for her. I didn't bring enough to the table, so I had to cut it off. You had to cut it off? You broke up with the girl that you were in love with because what? And I'm like, oh God, no. You're quitting. You're quitting the race before you lose because you're so deathly afraid of losing.
And you're almost punishing the girl for being a well-rounded, driven, badass girl.
100%. And that's where I'm like, I will get on this fucking soapbox until I die. Because I've seen it with like people I've dated. I've seen it with all of my friends. I've seen guys like, or they'll like put down their partners because they feel better. Like, you know, they feel better if they are like on the same playing field, you know? And I had sent you a video the other day.
I saw that.
That they were saying.
It's a study that was done that shows that if there's a partnership between a man and a woman and the woman is successful, it will lower the self-worth of the man. And it is not this true is not the same for the opposite. If a woman sees her man be successful, she does not feel that. Whereas like the men will actually lose self-worth watching their woman succeed.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Like less attracted.
Yeah.
And they are losing like self-confidence if their partner, and it's not even outperforming them. That was the thing that fucked me up so hard because I was like, I get there's like a weird competitiveness like that men might feel again because of society.
Yeah, because they're meant to be like quote unquote
the provider or whatever. Yeah. But I was like, no, it's not even outperforming. No. It's when their girlfriend, their wife, their fiance is just succeeding. Yeah. I was like, the call's coming from inside the house. Get out. Like, I was just like, oh my God, dude, it's so scary. So again, I've just heard this. So this guy really triggered me yesterday to say the fucking least, because I was like, not only it's so crazy that you're saying this to a fucking stranger. And I was like, I can't imagine if I went on a date with someone like this, I'd be like, I'm sorry, I need to go. Like, I don't know. And I'm not someone that ever ever cuts off someone in conversation. Even if I vehemently disagree
you'll still
with
be
them.
Kind, and you'll still listen. Yeah.
Right on. Okay. Love that you have that opinion. You know, like I'm just like, I'm willing to hear usually.
You are, yeah.
I was so turned off by this energy. And again, I think it just reminded me of like when I'm dating, you know, and I'm not really currently dating. I'm kind of currently dating. I'm like, if you come to me and you, Maddie, will you go out with me? Sure. But I'm like, I'm not actively like, ooh. I'm like looking at cute guys in bars, but that's it. All of this to say, I am not really actively dating yet. I'm still, when I'm talking to guys, they are giving me excuses on excuses and on excuses of like, oh, I didn't do that. And it's just, I'm not the man that you thought I was, or, you know, and that breaks my heart because I'm like, when did I ever say that? Yeah. I've never thought that about you. Yeah. Like I literally had this exchange with someone that I think the world of, and we just weren't evenly matched. Like and not evenly in like, evenly is a weird word choice. Let me rephrase. We weren't compatible. Yeah. And that's where I'm like, I was like, okay, we're not meant for each other. And when I said like, hey, I don't think we have a romantic future, and I can't accentuate this enough, this lovely, lovely individual was like, I'm sorry I wasn't the man you thought I was going to be. And I was like,
No.
Who said this? Like, I didn't say this.
No.
You obviously feel this way. Why do you feel this way? Because I was like, you did everything right.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't do anything that put me off. Like, we just weren't romantically compatible. Yeah. Like, and so that's where I'm like, it is something that is definitely happening in the inner workings of men's mind. And I'm like, that's why we wanted to talk to you guys about this, because I'm like,
because this is happening in the inner workings, and because now it's coming from the inside to the outside, which again, we want to promote people talking about their feelings. We want to promote people talking about what they're struggling with in a positive way. Mm-hmm. And when I say positive way, it's like, talk about it, then fix it. Like, have a line of action that's included in it. If you sit in that pity party for so long, all you're going to do is become what you hate the most, and then you will hate yourself, and then you might take that out on women.
Yeah. Well, I think to your earlier point, it's like a self-fulfilled prophecy of being like, I'm a piece of shit. I'm a piece of shit. If you keep saying that so many times.
Well, it's like how we talk about positive affirmations. Yeah. Like, if you wake up in the morning and you're talking to yourself in a good way. I remember, that was like, I had a therapist tell me one time that when you speak negatively in your brain, it becomes so second nature. And because it's happening all internally, it's harder to correct that. So because your brain becomes so accustomed to this, you have to like almost force your brain to start only speaking positively to retrain it. Mm-hmm. And so the more you sit in that negative self accusations, and the more you start thinking that everybody else is thinking what you're thinking, because this is what your brain is now telling yourself, then the world is being viewed by you in that way, because your brain is only functioning in that manner now.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It really is. Because I'm like, for all parties involved, because I can't tell you how many times I've thought the world of people and they just don't love themselves. And you're just like, come on, please, like, see what I see. And trust me, I'm on that side of things too. Anytime I've brought up insecurities to my friends, and again, like Ruth said, when you're in a partnership, you can bring these things up. When you can have these moments of weakness. I don't believe they're weakness. I put air quotes for anyone who's not watching this. But if you view it as a weakness, and that's why you're word vomiting it, because you're like, I have to say it before they do. Like, I hate my nose. And you're like, who was talking about your nose? You know, and you're like, but it's something you're so insecure about that you have to put it out there so no one beats you to the punch, that no one catches you off guard and says like, what a weird nose. You know, I'm like... It just really is so heartbreaking to me, because even when I've expressed my things that I'm insecure about, like, I feel like unanimously everyone's like, what? And it's and it's the same when you bring up stuff to me, and like when we talked about that in the episode where we went with no makeup and we were talking about beauty standards, we both were gobsmacked over what each other was insecure about. And that's happened in partnerships to me too. Like, I've dated guys that have said stuff, and I'm like, where did this come from? I'm so sorry that you feel this way. And again, I'm not saying like, fucking do better. Don't have any insecurities. No, that's not the point. It's more, don't get so in your head and so in your way that you end up fucking up experience and like
in your life, really.
Yeah.
When we talk about self-sabotage, even like on a larger scale, like I think a lot of times it comes even in dating, where you won't allow yourself to be happy. So even if you are happy, you'll find ways to like, and I know a lot of this can even revert back to like childhood stuff or like things that people have experienced. And we know there's deeper things to this. And we could talk about this for a while about the different levels and the different ways that people can do this. I think it's when you recognize you keep getting the same result that you don't like, then you have to recognize that a change is needed. And so even if you're doing something and you're like, I'm not aware, I wasn't aware of it, but you are aware of the results. You are aware of where your life is now.
Totally.
And so that's a clear marker of like something has to change.
100%.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I ask you a question?
Yeah.
I was going to say, do you mind getting into not only maybe an instance that you can think of? It can be a friend, family, or relationship or partner where you've very clearly watched them in real time self-sabotage, and you're like, oh shit, like you're doing, and like specifically to your relationship dynamic. Yeah. And then I would love to hear if you can share something that you feel like you've self-sabotaged.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would definitely say that obviously my toxic ex like self-sabotaged our relationship consistently. And I know he felt inadequate in comparison to me, which I never put on him. He felt himself and like consistently acted out because of that, and would then use his inadequate feelings as excuses for his actions. And that obviously not only demolished our relationship, but affected me and him both long term in massively negative ways. And that was all due to his internal struggle. And
I'm so sorry.
No,
but I think that's where I see it the most. And that's why this guy last night when I was talking to him, I felt such a sadness for him because I was like, you're not even in the relationship. Like you're even getting ahead of just the first date. You're feeling this way. Yeah. But I'm like, the only times I've really, really experienced it so like glaringly is when I've been in toxic relationships more than healthy ones. But this one, like my toxic ex, my most recent one, the one that cheated on me, I'm like, that is a clear self-sabotage. Like,
absolutely.
I'm like, that was a clear, he was like, and I remember when I had gotten him, like before he'd gone on his trip, before like a month before we'd broken up, I did this whole like last night in America. I was like, let's do a cute little, let me do everything. I like ordered cookies for us to get delivered. I had done this whole thing. And I remember he was so touched by it, but then there was like a sadness and I was like, what's up? And he was like, I just feel like you're so good to me. And I feel like I don't always reciprocate it. And I remember being like, fucking where? Because I was like, I've never felt more loved in a relationship. I was like, what? I'm doing this because I love you and like because we have this. And I was like, what do you mean? Baby, you do stuff for me all the time. And I even like, he was like, well, what do you think? And I was like, this, like I had receipts to be like, you do things all the time that make me feel special. Yeah. And I also kind of wanted to be like, okay, say this nice thing happens to you. Okay, then plan something nice for me later on.
Of course.
Like you don't have to like,
it's not like right now. But
like
at this time.
You don't have to like, and it's not an exchange. It's not a business thing. You know, I was like, just know that you want to treat me well and then you will. Like, I don't have any doubt in that. And now it's so clear with hindsight that he just felt so much guilt that he was not doing the right thing, you know. And and I think it was so wrapped up in him not feeling like he deserved me, which I'm like,
for sure.
Oh my God, that makes me so angry because I'm like, if you didn't think you deserved me, like truly, I get wanting to have your cake and eat it too, but now you're fucking me over and now you're like, don't.
Well, and that's what's scary about the self-sabotage because it's never just self.
It's not.
You're affecting everybody around you in your own self-worth, in your own self-destruction. You're destroying the people in your life.
Absolutely, because it bleeds. Yeah. It bleeds because if a guy at a bar that I fucking met for 10 minutes can make me do a whole goddamn episode on my podcast, I'm like, you're bleeding on me. Yeah. I'm like, was I shot? No, you are. Like, why am I covered in blood right now? Like, it's just so fucking crazy to me. Sorry. So continue. You were saying like that was your toxic. And
that was mine. As for my own, for sure. I think that I can see pieces of it in both of my other adult relationships. Like when I was with my long-term ex, obviously we got together very young. I don't think I was healed from a lot of like younger stuff and childhood stuff. Dad stuff. And so I even remember one time a therapist pointed it out to me when we went for couples therapy and she goes, you're testing him. You want to make him prove that he'll stay. And I recognized in that moment I was, because the more if I could push and he wouldn't leave, then I'd be like, oh, now I feel safe.
Yeah. The loyalty.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's hard. Yeah. That's a hard pill to swallow too, because like because the reason you're doing that is because you were so hurt, right? And you have every right.
Like the abandonment issues and and so I wanted there was almost like I at that point in my life thought no relationship lasts, so it's fine. Like if you go away, like that's what was going to happen anyway. It's just a matter of time. And I think I still struggle with that now. Even with Neil, I'll say to him, I'm like, "Are you sure? Like, you sure?
Yeah, are you sure
like,
you're
I'm
not
going
leave?
anywhere?" but there's still that like underlying fear.
Yeah.
I don't act out in it as much as I probably did when I was younger. Now it's just more so I can feel it, I can recognize it, I can speak about it, but I'm not acting on it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, what about you?
I'll get into it. I was going to get into a more like my health thing, but yeah, I mean, just to wrap that up, the fact that you have had abandonment issues in the past, or and I hate the word issues, but in the way of like that you've been conditioned to feel a certain way because of the past actions of people that did these things to you. That is by no means like your fault. But I understand that there is some ownership that you have to take as far as healing, where it's not that you're completely healed. I have to be completely healed to be in a relationship.
Right,
and that's
exactly.
where like same with the like, I have to have so much money to date a girl, or I have to have so much money to buy the ring, or it's bust, which I'm like, it's not. You can come into it being like, I am not fully healed. I want to be here with you. I have these tendencies and I'm working on them, and
this is how I need you to support me as a partner.
There might be some times where I'm like, do you love me? And I'm like, you might just say it. You might have to have that like validation and that like I don't know, just like re-up of like, are we still doing this? And I think that's totally fair.
Like that. Have you seen that meme where it's like the morning of my wedding, I'm like texting the husband, do you like me?
Yeah, exactly. Do you think I'm pretty? And I think that's so fair. You know, like I think why your therapist brought it up was because of what you had said, the testing. It's like when you're doing it unfairly, like you're putting in roadblocks again to self-sabotage. So you can be like, see, I was fucking right. You know,
you proved me right. Like, but whereas like I created the scenarios for that person.
And then it's like, who does that help?
Yeah, exactly.
Like if you're like, if the guy at the end of the day, like if my ex was like, oh, I don't know if I can be loyal. Right? Like if that was his thing, right? If he was like, I don't know if I can hold Maddie. Like if I can, so I'm going to hold another woman at the same time to show that I can hold Maddie. I'm like, you're fucking psychotic. Like just either leave me alone or like realize if he would have come to me and been like, I'm really worried about straying. That would have been a conversation, and there would have been so much understanding.
I know.
I would have been like, oh, why?
Yeah.
Fuck. Why?
But the thing is, like, that would give you the opportunity to say, like, okay, cool, like maybe we do this, or maybe we do that, or like let's work through this.
Maybe we don't. Maybe we don't commit to be completely monogamous or whatever. Yeah. Anyway, so self-sabotaging. I think. The one I was going to bring up, and this is kind of lame, but I was going to say my sleep schedule. That sabotages me day in, day out, girl. And it's because I have so much on my plate all the time. And I've like talked to my therapist about this. I've talked to my friends about this because I think it's a funny little joke. It's not. But I'm like, I don't have a lot of alone time. So at night, that is like my like reset. Like I'm just going to do this. I'm going to take care of this. And then I'm like, it's 2 a.m. You have to get up at 8:30. What the fuck are you doing? And then it just resets the clock.
You do that calculating. If I fall asleep right now.
Yeah. If I fall asleep in the next 5 minutes, I have 6 hours, 43 minutes. It's fucked. It's like, I know better. I know that I function better on sleep as everyone does, and I'm like, okay, why are we getting in our own way? That is something.
That's not a lame thing. I think a lot of people experience that. And it's like, I think that's something that's a good example actually, because sometimes we might not see like maybe some deeper issues that we're not fully aware of yet. But like even something like that we do that affects our day, that like gives you the negative outcome
All
that
of
is
it.
consistently happening. Like how do I shift that?
Totally. And it's hard to unlearn. Like I've like bought so many things to try and set myself up for better.
You have a cool alarm clock
I have
now.
this fucking Mac Daddy alarm clock now. And I'm like, that was going to solve all my problems. No, I need to take sleep more seriously. And it really does affect my health. And it affects my bandwidth for stress. It affects my bandwidth for trying to like be creative. Like if you're sleep deprived, you can't really do.
Well, I mean, like what I'm actually hearing and what you just said is like you're not getting a lot of time to yourself during the day, so you're trying to capture that at night.
Yeah.
So what you really want to kind of solve is An ability to give yourself more of that time that you can feel like you're
during the day,
during
normal school hours or normal work hours. Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah.
And, it's just a common case of like a woman, a person with too many plates spinning. Yeah. And I know that. And that's something that I'm working on. Yeah. I don't want to like cop out and not give any relationship one because your girl has had her own things. I feel like insecurity a lot. I think if we go back to the birth control episode where we were talking about how I was like inexperienced with my first partner and then we were together for so long. Yeah. So obviously we got into the rhythm of like what we liked and stuff like that. But I feel like I didn't really question more than that. Like we had our thing, we did different things. It wasn't boring by any means, but not me being like cheeky about it, but it wasn't boring by any means. But I think I was so deathly petrified because I knew that he had a much more fruitful, he had an existing sex life before me. Yeah. And so I was so nervous
that you weren't doing it right or like living up to expectations.
Yeah. So I really played safely, where I was like, he likes this and I like this and we do that. And and funny enough, I think, again, our sex life was fulfilling, but I don't think that was one of the things that I wouldn't have brought up with my friends. The things I would have brought up about him is how well he treated me, how loved I felt by him, how much fun we had together. We were goofballs. I was like, he's my best friend. Those are the things I would have brought up, not the sex life. Yeah. And not that you have to have that, even though, as I said on our sex episode, I think it is a very big part. I do. Yeah. But it's funny now in hindsight. I'm like, oh, wow. I was just so petrified of doing something wrong, like going out of my comfort zone because I didn't know anything else. Yeah. And because I knew he was experienced, I didn't want to put the ownership on him to teach me. And I also didn't want to put myself in a position where he'd be like, what the fuck are you doing? So I was like, I'm not gonna embarrass myself, so I would only do what he was leading me to do. And I never felt like I could explore that
of the things that you might like.
And I think that's self-sabotage. Like that was me just being so fearful, and instead of coming to him and being like, listen, I want to do some crazy ass shit. Let's try. But I don't know what I'm doing and I'm terrified and I'm worried I'm going to look stupid. If I would have done that, I think he was definitely the partner that would have been like, oh, honey, let's talk about it. That's where I'm like, that was a self-sabotage because I knew how he would hold me in that. And I still didn't do it because I was fearful of the 10 seconds of embarrassment I would feel if I did it wrong. Aww. That was like the perfectionism coming in. So that's where I think I self-sabotage.
That is the sweetest self-sabotage I've ever
heard. I'm not trying to say I fucked up. I like not in like a horrible way, but I'm like, if I would have been more open with him,
maybe it would have.
I think we would have had him.
That was again, your first experience. Totally. That's so different than if you were 10 relationships in and then you're like, oh, I'm still too afraid to ask.
Sure. And I think to your point of your early relationships and feeling I feel like it's really bleeding out the abandonment, worry. Mm-hmm. It's not your fault either. Yeah. And to this guy that was talking to me at the bar, it's not his fault that he's been taught, whether that be from just society, whether that's his parents, his brothers, whatever, I don't know his life, that he's not good enough unless he makes more money than his partner. Yeah. That's not the thing that I'm upset with him as much about. Obviously I'm like, don't feel that way. But that's not the thing that I'm upset about. The thing that I'm upset about is he's taking himself out of the race. Yeah. Because he's so worried of losing, or he's not
even taking himself out of the race. He's not even in it.
Participating. Yeah. And then he's on the looking glass I wish I could have a girlfriend. Yeah. And I'm like, you can, in theory, sure. It's not like, hey, girlfriend, okay, one over here, thanks. Right. But
I saw this one relationship coach that said I think it was Matthew Hussey, where they asked him what was the best piece of advice that he's ever heard, and it was write a list of everything you want in a partner, what you would desire them to be, blah blah blah, and then become that person.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard that, and I actually love that advice. Yeah. And of course, there are going to be people you date who you date because they compliment you in ways. Yeah. When I think about my parents, because I'm a sap and I think they have a beautiful relationship, they both have things that complement each other. And you're not going to exactly be, but when you expect if you expect your partner to be a provider, if you expect your partner to protect you, if you expect your partner to make you laugh, provide for yourself, protect yourself, figure out how you're going to do that emotionally, physically, whatnot, and have a sense of humor. Try to figure out how you think it's funny. Like laugh at
I laugh at myself all the time. I'm fucking hilarious.
I know.
We've decided, me and me have decided.
Me, myself, and I know that I'm a fucking comedian. No, it's true.
I just haven't been discovered yet.
We're looking bookies. We're ready. But yeah, that's where it's like, I get so upset, obviously, over this. And it makes me really, my heart hurts for the people. And
I say my heart hurts with an asterisk. Like if somebody's going through and they're just discovering these things and they're at the beginning stage of like this journey of figuring it out, my heart hurts for them. If you have known this for a while and you continue doing the same thing over and over again and just like recognizing it and ignoring it and just choosing to wreck everything around you in your path, like I have no sorry for you. Like I have no sympathy for you.
Yeah. And I honestly want to do a 2-parter for this maybe and talk about how attachment styles play into this. And I would love to talk about attachment styles because that's one of the biggest flags of someone who is avoidant attachment or anxious attachment, which a lot of us are. Don't think it's like the scarlet letter, but being aware of that, knowing that you're avoidant attachment and not trying to actively put things in your way so your relationship doesn't work, so the job, you don't get the job, so you don't. We got to talk about it because I'm like, I want to learn from it. I want us to like stop. This is taboo. This is something that like people don't fucking talk about because they don't want to air out their fucking grievances. They want to be like, yeah, fuck those people. And I'm like, trust me, I get it. But like, we need to start destigmatizing this because we're going into a radical area where I feel like every guy I've gone on a date with in the last 3 years, at least at one point has been like, well, I don't do this enough. And I'm like
and every time I'm like, who's coming after like a couple of dates and opening up like in a way that's like, again, it is the delivery of it. If he came to you and was like, hey, I'm really struggling with this, like, but I'm working, like I'm fixing this or I'm thinking about this, like that to me is like, okay, I'm a man with a plan. But if you're like, I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And in that tone as well.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't always experienced it in that baby tone. I love that you have. But I'm like, a lot of the time it is so like second nature for them. And I'm like, no one would have known. Yeah. No one would have known if you would have just come and showed up and been like semi-confident and like semi-open.
Yeah. And if you don't feel confident, you can still emulate confidence for the time being. We've all had to do it. We all do it in life. And there's a lot of studies that show like you emulating it will trick your body to feel it. Like,
that's the affirmations. That's all those studies. So thanks for bearing with us.
To wrap us up here, self-sabotage is not just about self. It is about people in your pathway that can also be destroyed by it. If you recognize yourself doing it, don't sit in it. Look for solutions, talk to a therapist, talk to friends and family, not random people, but look for solutions. Don't just look at the problem and sit in it. We do thank you all so much for being here. And please don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. And we'll see you next week on Femme Tell All.
What are you thankful for? Thank you. I'm thankful for the podcast. I really am. I'm so thankful that we can talk about these things. Yeah. Not only because obviously I'm like, give me a mic. Like, I'm like, I have things to say on the matter. But also I feel like I hope if this just gets to someone, one person, even where they're like, oh shit, maybe I do that. How can I like show up a little? Yeah. That would just mean the world to me. So doing this.
I love that. I am thankful for that we will have a new logo out soon.
New logo's coming. We can't wait to show you guys. And we're so happy you're here. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for everything. We love you.